If you are sitting in a quiet house right now, staring at a phone that isn't ringing, you need to listen to me very, very carefully. I am 87 years old, and I have spent the better part of the last 2 decades making a complete and utter fool of myself, though I didn't realize it until the silence became too loud to ignore. We are told so many lies about aging. We are told it is a time of golden sunsets and rocking chairs, a time of earned respect and family gatherings where the matriarch sits at the head of the table dispensing wisdom. But there is a lie far more dangerous than the ones about physical decay or social invisibility. It's the lie that our happiness, our very sense of worth, is a debt that must be paid back to us by the people we raised. It is the lie that we are still the roof over their heads, even when they have built houses of their own. I spent my 70s and the early part of my 80s essentially begging for scraps. That's a hard thing to admit when you pride yourself on being a strong, independent woman who survived the lean years and the heartbreaks of midlife. But there I was, sending the texts that didn't need sending, making the just checking in calls that were really just please notice me please, and waiting around every single Sunday afternoon, paralyzed by a hope that felt like a physical weight in my chest. I was waiting for my son to remember I existed. I was waiting for my daughter to realize that I was lonely. I was fighting reality with every fiber of my being, and that fight almost put me in the ground long before my time was actually up. Think about this for a moment. If you walk outside right now and a thunderstorm breaks right over your head, do you stand there in the mud and scream at the sky? Do you yell at the clouds to stop raining because you still have yard work to do, or because you didn't bring a coat? No, you don't. You don't because you aren't insane. You know you cannot control the weather. You accept the atmospheric pressure, the moisture, and the lightning as facts of nature. You go inside, you close the window, and you let it rain. But with our grown children, we refuse to apply that same basic logic. We stand out there in the freezing rain of their indifference or their busyness, shaking our aging fists at the sky, trying to force a sun to come out that simply isn't in the forecast today. I survived the heartbreak of an empty, silent house, but it wasn't because my children suddenly woke up one morning and decided to be the people I wanted them to be. It was because I finally figured out how to put the umbrella down. And if you don't learn to do the same, you are going to spend the final, precious years of your life cold, bitter, and completely exhausted. Here is a hard fact from a woman who has seen nearly 9 decades of seasons. Your children are the weather. When they were little, you were the roof. You were the structure. You kept them dry. You regulated their temperature. You told them when to sleep and when to wake. You taught them the difference between a drizzle and a downpour. But then they grew up. They hit 40. They hit 50. And something happens that we as parents just refuse to stomach. They aren't your crops to water anymore. Their lives, their mounting bills, their failing marriages, the way they are raising their own children, the ones who probably ignore them just as much, that is their own field to plow. It isn't yours, but we don't accept that. We think that if we just call one more time, if we just lay on the guilt a little bit thicker, if we just remind them of the sacrifices we made, the hell we went through, to put food on the table when times were tight, that somehow the weather will change. When you do that, you are trying to hold a tiny, silk umbrella over a middle-aged man or woman who wants to stand out in the storm. You are getting soaked, and they are just getting annoyed. Every time you reach out and get that one-word answer back, that fine or busy talk later, it feels like a physical blow to your ribs. It leaves you breathless. But that pain is your fault, not theirs. It's your fault because you are expecting a sunny day in the middle of their hurricane. Stop lying to yourself. Accept the forecast. If they are distant, if they are preoccupied with their own survival, well, that is just the weather right now. You cannot change the sky by crying at it. Here is a bitter pill I had to swallow, and I tell you, it tasted like ash in the back of my throat for a long time. My chasing was the very thing keeping my children away. I had to look at it from their side of the fence. Every time my son walked through my front door, I didn't look at him with love. I looked at him like he owed me a debt. I looked at him like he had to pay me back for 30 years of parenting by giving me every ounce of his limited attention. I made my happiness his job. And let me tell you, nobody wants to visit a house that feels like a damn guilt trip. Nobody wants to walk into a room where they are immediately presented with a bill they can never pay. Every conversation I had was just me waiting to be disappointed again. I would lead with a question, and if the answer wasn't long enough or emotional enough, I would withdraw into a shell of resentment. That isn't love. That is a hostage situation. When you chase them, you are choking the life out of the relationship. You are demanding that they fix your loneliness, but loneliness is a hole that no other human being can fill. Not even the ones you carried in your own body. That is an impossible burden to put on another person. The day I finally surrendered was the most terrifying day of my life. I set my phone face down on the kitchen table and I told myself, I am going to stop waiting. I thought that if I didn't hold this family together with my own two tired hands, the whole thing would wash straight to hell. I thought I was the glue, but I was actually the friction. But do you know what happened? I survived the silence in my living room. At first, it sounded like a graveyard. It was heavy and hollow, but slowly, it stopped sounding like death and started sounding like peace. I realized that for the first time in over 60 years, my life belonged entirely to me. I don't lose sleep over my daughter's financial mistakes anymore. Let it rain. I don't worry myself sick over my son's temper or his career choices. Let it rain. Acceptance isn't giving up on them. I love them more now than I ever did when I was trying to control them. I pray for them every single morning when I open my eyes and see the light filtering through the dust motes. I leave them in the hands of whatever providence governs this world. But I gave up on the delusion of control. I just love them for who they are. Even if who they are is someone who only calls once a month. You are in the winter of your life. Time is the only currency you have left, and the exchange rate is getting worse every day. We are all going to die. It's the only guarantee we get when we draw that first breath. And you do not have enough heartbeats left to spend them fighting a storm you cannot win. Do you want to be remembered as the bitter, angry woman who spent her last days staring at a piece of glass, waiting for a signal that never came? Put the phone down. Stop calling just to see if they still care. If they care, they care. If they don't, your calling won't manufacture it. Let the storm run its course. Find your own warmth. Drink your coffee while it's actually hot. Read the books you put off while you were busy being a mother. Let the rain fall where it's going to fall. It was never your job to stop the rain. It was only ever your job to learn how to live through it. We cling to the past because the future is a narrowing hallway, but the past is a graveyard if you visit it too often. I used to flip through old photo albums, those sticky page things from the 70s, and I'd see their little faces, the way they looked at me like I was the sun and the moon. I used to use those photos as evidence against them. Look how you loved me then, I'd think. What changed? But that's a trap. The child in the photo doesn't exist anymore. That child grew up and became a person with their own fears, their own exhaustion, and their own children who are likely breaking their hearts in smaller, quieter ways. When you demand they return to that state of adoration, you are asking for a ghost. You are ghost hunting in your own living room. It's a lonely hobby. I had to learn to look at the woman in the mirror. This wrinkled, spotted, slowing woman. and realize she is the only person I am actually responsible for now. My duty to them ended when they became capable of feeding themselves. My duty to myself, however, is eternal. There is a specific kind of vanity in the suffering mother archetype. We think our suffering is a testament to our love. We think that by being miserable in our loneliness, we are showing the world how much we care. But it's just a form of ego. It's saying, "My love is so great that I have no life without you." That isn't a gift, it's a tether. It's a chain. And when you finally break that chain, you might find that you're a bit wobbly on your feet at first. You might not know what to do with a Tuesday afternoon that isn't centered around a hope for a phone call. But then, you notice the bird at the feeder. You notice the way the light hits the floorboards at 4 p.m. You realize that you can have tea for dinner if you want, and you don't have to explain it to anyone. There is a magnificent, terrifying freedom in being forgotten, because when you are forgotten by the world and by the people you raised, you are finally left alone with yourself. And if you've spent your whole life running away from yourself by being mom or grandma, that confrontation is going to be loud. I had to introduce myself to myself at age 85. I found out I like quiet more than I thought. I found out I don't actually like the holidays as much as I pretended to for 30 years. I found out that I am enough, even in an empty house. The lie is that you need them to be happy. The truth is that you only need to stop fighting the weather. When you stop fighting, you stop hurting. The world doesn't end because you stop chasing. The sun still rises, though it might be hidden by clouds. The rain still falls, and it nourishes the earth whether you approve of the timing or not. My son called me last week, just out of the blue. I didn't check the clock to see how long it had been. I didn't mention that he missed my birthday. I didn't sigh or use that hurt voice we all know how to weaponize. I just listened. I let him talk about his work and his frustrations. I was a person listening to another person. And when we hung up, I didn't feel like I had been fed. I felt like I had just watched a cloud pass by. Beautiful, fleeting, and completely out of my hands. That is the peace that passes understanding. It isn't the peace of having everything you want. It's the peace of no longer wanting things you can't have. It's the peace of the 11th hour. We are so close to the end, you and I. Why spend these last few miles looking over your shoulder? Why spend them screaming at the rain? Put the phone face down. Open your Bible, or your window, or just your heart to the silence. Let it rain. Let it all wash away until there is nothing left but you and the breath in your lungs. That breath is a miracle. Don't waste it on a sigh. The most dangerous lie is that your story is over because their story moved to a different city or a different level of priority. Your story is never over until the very last page is turned, and right now, you are the only author left in the room. Write something beautiful. Write something quiet. Write a page where the character finally learns that the storm was never the enemy. The umbrella was. The umbrella was the thing keeping her hands full and her heart heavy. Drop it. Just drop it and feel how light your arms become. I remember a time when I thought I couldn't breathe if I wasn't needed. I felt like a ghost haunting my own hallways, looking for a task to perform, a person to fix, a worry to nurture. I would invent problems for my children just so I could offer solutions. I would imagine they were struggling even when they were fine, just so I could feel like the roof again. It's a sickness, really. A sickness born of a beautiful impulse, maternal love, that stayed far too long and turned into a parasite. I see it in the eyes of the women at the grocery store, the ones staring a little too long at the families with small children. They are looking for a time when they were essential. But being essential is a young person's game. It's exhausting. It's a burden. Why would we want to carry that into our 80s? There is a profound dignity in being non-essential. It means the work is done. It means the structure is standing. If the roof is no longer needed, it means the house is strong enough to face the sky on its own. I look at my hands now. They are thin, the skin like parchment paper, and they tremble a little when I hold my coffee. These hands did a lot of work. They changed thousands of diapers, they scrubbed floors, they typed memos, they held feverish foreheads. They earned the right to be still. And yet, for years, I kept them clenched into fists, ready to fight the world for children who didn't want me to fight for them anymore. I kept them gripped around a phone, waiting for a vibration that felt like a heartbeat. What a waste. What a terrible, tragic waste of a sunset. I want you to look around your room right now. Really look at it. This is your kingdom. It might be small, it might be quiet, but it is yours. The people who aren't there, they are exactly where they are supposed to be. They are in the middle of their own lives, making their own mistakes, feeling their own rain. You cannot save them from it, and you shouldn't want to. To save someone from the rain is to save them from growth. If you are waiting for a phone call to tell you that you are loved, you are giving away your power to a piece of plastic and glass. You are loved because you exist. You are loved by the Creator who gave you this day. You are loved by the very air that enters your lungs. You don't need a middle-aged man's hurried "love you, Mom" to validate your 80 years of life. That's a small, pitiful thing to depend on. I found a poem once, tucked into an old book. I don't remember who wrote it, but it said something about how the trees don't beg the wind to stay. They just stand there. They let the wind blow through their branches, and some leaves fall, and some stay, and the tree just remains. That's what I am now. I am a tree in winter. I don't have the flashy green leaves of my youth. I don't have the fruit of my middle years. I just have my roots and the cold, clear sky. And you know what? It's enough. The silence isn't an enemy. The silence is an invitation. It's an invitation to finally hear your own thoughts without the static of someone else's needs. It's an invitation to forgive yourself for all the times you weren't a perfect roof. It's an invitation to forgive them for being the weather. The weather isn't personal. It's just physics. Their distance isn't a reflection of your worth. It's just the current season of their lives. So let it rain. Let the Sunday afternoons be quiet. Let the phone stay dark. There is a deep, resonant joy waiting for you on the other side of that surrender. It's the joy of a woman who has nothing left to lose and everything left to appreciate. I am 87 years old, and for the first time in my life, I am not waiting for anyone. I am just here. And here is a pretty wonderful place to be. I used to think that aging was a process of losing things. You lose your hair, your teeth, your friends, your status. But I see now that it's actually a process of shedding. You shed the expectations. You shed the vanity. You shed the need to be the center of someone else's universe. And when you've shed all of that, what's left is the soul. And the soul doesn't need a phone call. The soul is connected to everything. If you're feeling that ache in your chest today, that hollow feeling of being forgotten, just breathe into it. Don't try to fill it with a text message. Don't try to numb it with a guilt trip. Just feel it. It's the feeling of being human. It's the feeling of the 11th hour. And then let it go. Put the umbrella down. Walk back into your house, make yourself a cup of tea, and listen to the rain. It's a beautiful sound when you aren't trying to stop it. It's the sound of life continuing, with or without your permission. And that is the most honest thing there is. I don't know how many days I have left. None of us do. But I know I won't spend them staring at a screen. I'll spend them looking out the window, watching the birds, feeling the warmth of the sun when it decides to show up, and appreciating the rain when it doesn't. I am at peace, not because my life is perfect, but because I finally stopped trying to be the roof. I'm just the earth now, and the earth accepts everything the sky sends its way.